Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Korra news update video, and this is going to be another update on the IDW Games Legend of Korra Pro Bending Arena game. There's been a few more days of reveals here, and I'll just cover the last couple of days here. So day 5 was just a bunch of cards, nothing to say about that. Day 7, or I suppose 6, they kind of got the numbers a bit mixed up, but day 7 was quite interesting in that obviously this was the one that was very clearly Polite, and as you can see here, it turns out to be the case. And instead what they do here is that it's not just a random Polite that you can kind of have in your team. Instead what it is, it's that Polite acts as like a one-person team. Unfortunately, they say that she basically is the Red Lotus team, which makes sense, and her tattoo is the logo, but it definitely makes you feel like, really? A group that already had a waterbender and an earthbender, and you single out just the firebender as the team? I get, logically, if you had a team of Gazan, Minghua, and Polite, that it would have been really overpowered as a team, but it just feels a bit weird that you're only singling out Polite. It makes Minghua and Gazan feel very, very unimportant. So there's all the stuff that you get. We get a bit of a description here. Combustion bending, possible to block. And I think they do a good job at explaining kind of, why it's just Polite on her own, that she on her own can take on a full pro bending team. And obviously they mention here it's a fantastical one. In no way are they trying to say that it's canon that she is a pro bender. But, interesting. Here's a closer look at all this stuff. Combustion bending is her special ability, so she plays very differently. This is how you're able to make her work as like a solo kind of team. She gets her own cards here as kind of trick cards here. And, they basically just say she's limited by the number of combustions she can bend, and she's only allotted this many tokens, but they're really, really, really dangerous. You also have villain trick cards here for her, and that's that. So, that was pretty cool, and I suppose it gives you a sense about how the other reveals, which I'll get into, are going to go. So, that was that one again. Day 7, they say it again. I don't really know what was going on here. They're just more cards. That's just another few cards. And then here's where we get into, obviously, today's reveal, which I think is the more interesting one. In that they basically talk about how, basically everyone predicted that the big day 8 reveal, which had all these 5 figures, but didn't really make it clear that there were figures, it makes it pretty clear now that it is going to be a paid for pledge. And then they go over an extra kind of game type that they've added to the game, and that they're adding more tokens to the base box. But that, I think the big thing is that day 8 is an add-on. You have to pay extra money, you have to add extra money to your pledge to get the day 8 reveal, which is this one here. So day 8 reveal, halftime, Amon's invasion. So I predicted, it was very clear that this was the Amon figure, and here it is. We get the Amon. We get Amon, the Lieutenant, and then 3 different chi blockers, kind of meant to represent them having each different kind of each different weapon that the chi blockers usually use. You get an Amon kind of equalist character board. You get the Avatar, kind of to play Korra as a solo kind of team board, and that's it. And the Amon board is dual-sided. You get an Amon technique deck, and that's that. So it's an extra box. As you can see here, it does cost an additional $30. I think, before I get into the details here, I think the immediate problem with this is that why could they not just have been very open about this at the start? Because I praised this campaign the day that it launched for being very simple, for being just the only tiers of backing are give us money, like any amount if you just want to like help them out. There's the 65, which is basically for everything, and then there's like multiples of kind of 65 to get multiple versions of the game. here, especially halfway through a campaign, and especially halfway through a campaign that is very short. So they're only leaving people a week, basically, before the campaign ends to actually add this addition onto it. I think this was very, very poorly done to suddenly announce this in the middle. Because, especially, because at this stage, you're then paying $95 to get the whole thing, to get everything. And that is a lot, like, for a game. And it's all, like, good stuff, as we'll get into. It's just, you know, for people trying to budget this stuff out, you basically said, oh, it's 65, and then a week before the campaign comes to an end, you're expecting them to just, you know, add 30 on, not to mention the shipping. I can see absolutely a lot of people, you know, being very annoyed at them for doing it this way. And I think that's why they kind of set things up the way they did before, where they basically said the day before, we know you guys have figured it out, just be aware it's a paid expansion. I get it if, like, you know, this was the late edition. That's the sense that I'm getting here, that this was perhaps their big late edition thing to the campaign, why the campaign was delayed by a week going up. And I think, you know, I get it, but the whole point of the deluxe thing was that you get it all in one set, and that later the retail release would be you get the wolf bats and the fire ferrets, and then you buy all the other stuff as add-ons. So you'd buy the Amon expansion, you'd buy the other Pro Bending Team expansions, you'd buy the like Pali, Unalak, or whatever it is, Kuvira expansion separately, which makes sense for the retail release, but not so much for this. This feels a little like, oh, we added something in at the end, and let's hope this works out. This should have been like, from the beginning, like, you can get the deluxe version, or you can get the deluxe version with the expansion. And from the very start of this campaign, they should have made it clear that you can get one, both, or one or the other. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. The stuff is cool, as we'll get into. It's just, I'm not a fan of how late they were revealing this and all that sort of stuff. So, Amon's Invasion is an expansion for Legend of Korra Pro Bending Arena. The expansion adds 3 modes to the core game, and so we get the "and the winner is" co-op scenario, which is basically meant to represent the episode where, of course, Amon attacks the arena, and we get the big fight between Benders and the Equalists. And that's what this is meant to be. It's kind of this scenario type thing where they basically say it's a 2-player mode where, like, it's 2 versus 1. One player takes the role of the Equalist, the team of 5 as we see up here, and then 2 players each choose 2 Benders to basically act as the, you know, opposing team to them. And we get this deck that controls Amon and the Equalists. They say they say it's an AI deck, so I assume there's not really many decisions to make. It's kind of just random about what card is drawn. In that, like, you get a card that basically covers the Lieutenant and the 3 Chi blockers, and then you get a deck for Amon that's perhaps where the decisions come in. And then we just get the idea here. As players take damage from either Amon or the Equals, they remove cards from their technique deck. After they've lost all the cards for one Bender, that Bender is out of the game. And if the Benders take too long to defeat Amon, his planted bomb will explode and the game ends. And there's a full look at the card. Chi blockers, Chi blocker with the Bola, Chi blocker with the Shock Glove, Chi blocker with the Smoke Bombs, and then the Lieutenant, who is the Electric Tonfas. Or the Kali Sticks. I'm surprised. I'm kind of wondering with that one. Like, it's technically correct, but the terminology in the show and everything about the Lieutenant has always been that they're called, like, Kali Sticks. So, just a little bit there with the specifics, but, you know, pretty cool overall. Like, I think the visuals for these cards look really cool. The little board game things. The second mode you get is the Avatar Korra, the Avatar state, you know, using Korra as a solo Bender, and I think this is where another one of the problems comes in. The latest in the long line of Avatars Korra, okay, they just give a description of Korra. While a formidable Bender when she dons her Fire Ferret uniform, her abilities increase many orders of magnitude when she enters the legendary Avatar state. And her special ability is Elemental Mastery, and it basically just means she gets... You know, it's a bit weird, you know, it's based on Pro Bending, like, oh, she gets all of the elements: earth, fire, and water. And yes, look, it's about pro bending. She didn't have air at the time, but she also didn't have the avatar state at the time. So if you're gonna give her the avatar state, you kind of have to give her the other element as well. So it's a bit of a weird scenario here. That it's just like, what about air? I get air isn't as of yet involved in pro bending, but this isn't a pro bending section, is it? It's just really kind of awkward, I think, here, and kind of thrown in, especially because as we'll get to one of the reveals later on. So yeah, you get flexibility in your attacks. You can mix and match elements and so on. And they just say you can kind of combine them together. You can use like Korra in the avatar state versus the Equalist is like a really cool mode. She gets her own special like avatar technique cards, and then the other one is Amon Solo Bender. So I assume what this is going up here. One dual-sided Amon player board. So it's dual-sided, so what's the difference? So is that one side with the chi blockers and the shock gloves, and then is this the other side? Yeah, they are different. They go from symbols to being numbers there, so that's what makes it different, and it's got a few different things going on. So that's cool. And then we get Amon's technique cards, of course, relate. They give a description here about blood bending, psychic blood bending, and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so there's that. You get trick cards as well with this whole thing, including more avatar, more specific ones for Korra. And they go over again how you do it. If you want to add this, you have to click adjust your pledge, add 30 on. It just feels like a really awkward way to add it on, and then like, spelling error here. So that's what you get. You get Amon miniature, Lieutenant miniature, Equals Chi Blocker miniature, double-sided board, Avatar Korra team board, AI deck, Korra deck, Solo Bender deck, trick cards, and this is a really unfortunate thing. Asterisk, Avatar Korra uses the same Korra mini from the Korra set for the mode. And everyone in the comments on this is basically saying, like, really? Like, you added 3, chi blockers, but you can't give us a Korra in the Avatar state minifigure to use with the Korra board. This just feels like the biggest, like, oh, it has to be 30, let's just add this board in. Like, this Korra thing here just feels like the biggest, like, it just barely works because of airbending not being included here at all. And then them trying to make it be Avatar State, but Avatar State with only the Pro Bending elements. And then you have to use the Pro Bending Korra figure. It's just like, nope, that doesn't feel very good to me. So, yeah, that's all the information that we have here. I didn't go over everything. Obviously, there's a lot of the information is about specifically how this stuff like works technically, and I think they went over like the game more specifically in the Twitch stream. But I've looked into it. I've watched some of the videos that have come out before. The game, as I said before, doesn't really stand out to me in terms of how it plays. A lot of the interest for me with this is just how they're approaching doing all this, and because it is this really exciting reveal campaign of like what figures will they do and how will they approach doing it. But it also this time round really highlighted that I think they did some of this not quite so well. We'll see what the initial comments have to say here. I saw a brief look at it from some of it. So look, here's a description just for the first line here. Let's see. Hey everyone, as per the lore of the show, Korra is in her Pro Bending Arena when Amon attacks. As such, we had to stay true to that episode from the show. Also, this expansion contains 5 miniatures, which is only one shy of the core game. While we would have liked to have like to add an Avatar Korra mini, the cost for the expansion would have had to be increased, and it would not have fit the episode we are referencing. But you're saying it's Avatar State, aren't you? That feels like very like, oh, apology mode. You know, we have to do what we have to do. So where is it here? The Avatar. I suppose they're not really saying it's Avatar State. They just mention it up here in the description. They mention it there. Like, okay, that sort of fits, but I don't really like that description, really. Like, I get it, they wanted to really make this scenario be the case, but it's just like, no. Especially when you added Pali to the game. Like, admittedly, it's a kind of separate kind of mode type thing, but like, you have one thing where it's like, oh, it's a fantasy element to the game, and then we're just like, no, we can't do this because it has to fit to the lore of the show really exactly. So they're just all over the place with that sort of stuff. So I think this is the first time where you're really starting to see like a little bit of like, they've made a mistake here and not everyone is like super happy about it. But the other thing I think someone mentioned was that the image of Korra that they have on the Korra card doesn't look very good. Let's see, does this show up any bigger if I open it like this? Not really. Like, it doesn't look very good, this little image here of Korra. You know, it's not a huge problem, but I don't know how I feel about that. So yeah, this was a little thrown together, this whole like Korra bit. You know, they get out of it with that explanation of just like, oh, when she fights to them, it's like this with these elements. But you know, I think for the fun of the game, you almost should have had it be just like it's Korra in the Avatar state, and she can use all 4 elements, and you add in a new figure just to make it like really good. And especially with like, let's get into the other ones, what's still to be revealed in the campaign. Like you have your Pali reveal, you have your big expansion reveal. Day 9 is going to be another Pro Bending team, I assume. Day 10 is going to be more cards. Day 11 is going to be our final Pro Bending team. This is more than likely the Buzzard Wasps, just based on the fact that it looks like a wing sticking off the side of the logo. More cards. 13 is very clearly going to be a Kuvira kind of 1-on-3 or kind of separate kind of game mode type thing. And then similarly, day 15 is probably going to be a Unalaq mode similarly. And you know, it just kind of feels like, okay, they're fine, but you're also giving them a new figure. So yeah, this reveal I think might be the one where you really kind of have a few people going like, yeah, you could have handled that a bit better. I think they shouldn't have waited until day 8 to reveal this, and it just doesn't feel quite as tight with regards to some of this stuff. Like, it just like, because most of the problems are with the Avatar beta edition. There's no real complaints about the Amon stuff from what I can see. It's just that like, oh, you've decided to add in this extra Korra game board, but you haven't committed fully to it like you have on basically everything else in the whole game. So there's that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the campaign now. I will probably do a video tomorrow because we are getting another Pro Bending team revealed, and more than likely this means 3 brand new character names. As I said before, Tiger Dillos or the Platypus Bears are my prediction for this team. But if day 11 is the Buzzard Wasps, then I think that's what day 9 has to be, either of those 2 teams. It could be another team, but you know, you maybe be questioning like, that's a little bit obscure as a team to choose, but let's see, wait and see until tomorrow. But yeah, that's been the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this reveal of this Day 8 expansion, extra money to the campaign, and how you feel this has worked out. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.